Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, sir, and welcome all to our, it used to be a monthly podcast, our football book monthly podcast, but it has been some time, so apologies for that. It's been a really mad summer. I've been away to Turkey twice, and, you know, with all the goings on and all the different podcasts and all, everything that you have to do to try and get a few more likes, a few more followers, a few more Patreons. It's been very busy. Yeah. So let's talk about your Patreons first, Andy. We don't need to know how many that you've got. Hopefully you'll have hundreds and thousands, a little bit like the toppings that you put on your trifle. But how can people hook up with you, buy your products or buy into your products, and what is the best for people that don't necessarily publish books, but people that like to read books, but ultimately just want to support you?
Yeah, no, brilliant. Thank you for that as well. Well, the Patreon that we do, so there's free options, basically, and you can access it through the website or direct through the Patreon as well. So it's at patreon.com/myfootballbooks. There's three of them. We do it basically for a reader patron, and with that, it's just £2 a month, and that helps support the work I do, and I suppose in turn then supports, you know, authors out there, publishers, because my overall aim is to share the written word and, you know, the beautiful game. But that's just £2 a month, so really helping support. But yeah, you get a complimentary My Football bookmark, so that's what I recommend for all readers. But if you do want to support us more, but you're an author, there's an author patron of just £4 a month. And what I do, and as I have had recent author patrons join, which is great. I'm going to be doing I have done a feature article of their book on the website, which I include in the monthly newsletter, which I share, and also share it through all the social media channels, which I've got over 14,000 followers now across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and as well as obviously adding it to the website as well. And then the final one I do is for the publishers, which is just £7 a month. So it's all the benefits an author, but any books that they publish, every month really, or any books they send out, they are producing. And again, I'll do the same, do a feature article, and put the links on the website to their website or to, you know, Amazon or whatever they choose. So there's three options: so reader, author, and publisher. Paul.
So for anybody that's listening to the podcast now and says, Andy, I don't publish, I'm not an author, I just want to support you, what would you say is the reader? Okay. Yeah,
go for the reader. Just £2 a month, so that'd be greatly help, and I think it's just a couple of pounds. What's that, less than I don't even know. Your coffee's now double that, isn't it? It's £4.
Absolutely.
Yeah, normal coffee?
Well, I'm drinking a coffee now. It's certainly less than that because I've just got it from my kitchen. But I think
that's different. Yeah.
If you go to a coffee house, which I've never done, I'd be amazed on how much that you would pay for a cup of coffee, and probably for a third of that price, you can support your project, which is, I would say, has got to be the biggest promotion of books online anywhere in the world.
I do, yeah. I've often looked. So I've been doing it for years now. So I've celebrated the third anniversary since starting in COVID, and I'm not aware of anywhere, quite literally worldwide, that does similar. Really, just focused on football books, and I cover books of all your new releases, ones of books coming soon, but also recommended books both by me and also people that follow and recommend books to me to read and to fellow readers. So
absolutely,
there's a lot of books on the website, thousands basically.
And you also give us a recommendation every week on Terry Curran's Curran View with the Isle of Hillsborough, Mr. Terry Curran. So you always have an input into that. I think what you do is quite phenomenal and unique as well, because you do it all because you care about the football books. You want to get involved in promoting football books. And with our football book podcast, the way that you get involved in our podcast is by linking up with Andy, and Andy will promote your books, and I go through your Facebook and your Twitter pages, and I go, oh, I like that. I'm going to give that a mention. And that's how we do. So if you want to get involved in our football book project with the podcast, please get involved with Andy, and through Andy, we get these football books and then we talk about them. So we're going to be a little bit more insular these days, Andy. We want them to like you, get involved with you. If you want to like SRBMedia, that's fantastic. If you want to like the Current View, that's fantastic. But it is talking football books. So what is the first book that you want to be talking to? I've got to say, I've got 12.
You've got 12, have you?
I've got
right,
12 down here, but I'm guessing by the end of the podcast, which usually goes on 90 minutes, maybe a little bit of extra time as well.
Well, extra time nowadays, it's probably an extra, 20 minutes, isn't it?
You never know,
how much extra time you get now?
Well, I hope you ain't going to be doing these goal-scoring celebrations and really, egging
it's not the plan.
Egging it, or over-egging it as it is. But I'm going to cross off books that you mentioned, because I'll go snap, I've got that. So the floor is yours. Where do you want to go with your first book?
Well, feel free to interject. I've purposely, because we've not done it for a while, I've picked 50 books. So I've gone quite down the line. So, but I'll give a little short bit on all of them. But I'll start off with the books that have released. I'll do 25 books that have already been released over the last couple of months or so, and then 25 that's coming up. So from when we were doing this podcast to going forward. And one place to start, really, I suppose, when we're doing this is just the day after the Lionesses making the World Cup final coming up at the weekend. So the first book is called The Upcoming, The Lionesses and Beyond, by a lady called Jane Purdon. It's come out through Pitch Publishing, and anyone that knows of Pitch Publishing, they are by far the biggest sports publisher and do cracking job really supporting authors. But the Homecoming is basically it's a personal account by Jane Purdon, who is basically, she's well known, but she's done a lot of roles in. Well, she's worked with Sunderland. She's also worked with the Premier League. I think in governance, it was. The most recently, she was a CEO of women's in football. And so it's a personal account of hers about how the Lionesses triumphed in the women's Euros in the summer of 22, which seems a long time ago. So it's basically a call about what has happened, and obviously now they're going to a World Cup final, which is even greater for women's football. It's certainly gone on, such a, it's a spectacle. It's one of the fastest growing sports, women's football that there is, and it's picking up from when it was so popular back in many long time ago. The Lily Parr team that you'll know of,
Dick Kerr
we've talked of before as well. Dick Kerr ladies. So that's the first one. Homecoming, by Jane Purdon.
There are a number of Lionesses or women's football books at the moment. It is quite popular. There are a lot of people that are jumping on the bandwagon. I think it's great to see that the media, the controlled media, have finally caught up. They're actually doing things now that I was suggesting that they should be doing 10 years ago. And as the media are the media, they will follow the money. Us football fans follow the heart, but they follow the money. I find a lot of it vomit-inducing, if I'm quite honest, because I see the same people now that are falling over them wouldn't give them the time of day 10, 15 years ago when I was doing it for nothing. And in terms of the FA, I think they're just a bunch of idiots. But, that Mark Bullingham is on the TV now. God knows what he's talking about, but I've not got much time for them. But good luck to the ladies. And if I could give you any advice or a word or a few words of advice, stop all this politicisation, if that's the right word, and the sexualisation of your game. Concentrate on being footballers because you're bloody good footballers, and all of the bullshit that surrounds it, just leave it at the door. Take onto the football pitch your footballing ability, because I think that you're very, very good, and I think you're a credit to the nation. So well done to everybody that's been involved in the journey of women's football. I have been involved in the journey. I was a stadium announcer at Birmingham City Ladies. I am the only Birmingham City Stadium announcer that's had the microphone taken off them twice. but there you go, and that's why I don't like the media.
Well said. Totally agree. So that's
next up.
And the next one, I think going from the Masters of Women's of now to the Dutch Masters is my next one by Gary Thacker. So we know of and spoken of plenty of times. Released a number of books. So he's well known. He's a guest on the likes of BBC on TalkSport Radio. But Dutch Masters, it's a heartfelt history of one of the greatest and most iconic European. Ajax, I think it's full name. AFC Ajax. AFC, by the way, doesn't stand for Amateur Football Club. It stands for Amsterdamish Football Club. So that's So Dutch Masters, which is it draws on it offers various interviews he's done with former players and other authors and journalists. But it's a cracker read, again, coming out through Pitch, so I'm sure that's one that many listeners will enjoy reading.
Absolutely.
What a team.
Absolutely. And the first professional player to be signed by the great Ajax team was Pete Kaiser, and Johan Chriis was the second, before Rinus Michels took over at the helm of Ajax. They were an amateur football club, and he couldn't believe how some amateur football clubs that he'd been involved in were so much better run than Ajax. He had to do a lot of hard work. He certainly did. He won one European Cup, and then he went to Barcelona. He took Johan with him after the third triumph in the European Cup, but they won 3 back-to-backs. I've done a podcast with Gary. Gary, one of the members of These Football Times, a great little podcast and group of football journalists. So, however you access your football podcasts, if you go on to whatever network or feed that you use, type into the search engine either SRBMedia or Gary Thacker or Dutch Masters, and I'm sure that our podcast will come up. A thoroughly enjoyable hour with Gary, a font of knowledge. I always call him one of my educators, and he's a good lad. A Chelsea fan to boot as well. Can I just interject? You okay there?
Great writer, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. You were just going away a little bit then. Have you got your Wi-Fi on?
No, I've not moved. So I've just got my phone on. So hopefully you got me back.
Yeah, you're loud and clear. The first book that I want to mention is Gallus. I hope that's the way you pronounce it. Scotland, England, and the 1967 World Cup final by Michael McEwen. And a couple of years ago, I caught up with Jim McCalliog, and Jim was telling me what it was like to play in that game, what it was like to score on his debut in that game, and some of the background to that game as well. So we're just going to indulge a couple of minutes, well, it's probably about 15 minutes if I'm absolutely honest, in Jim just talking about that wonderful game and the book Gallus. Well, that was absolutely fantastic. As always, Mr. McCalliog. Bobby Browne, come on, boys, come on. Best of luck, boys, best of luck. Jim Baxter really took the reins that day. And as I said to Jim, had the World Cup been played in Scotland and at Hampden Park, Scotland may well have ran out winners of the World Cup in 1966, the year previous. Because I think that Scotland were England's equal. They had some fantastic players in that team, didn't they? And that book's going to tell us the story of, I'm guessing, not just that game, but what Scotland were like in the 60s. Magnificent.
Yeah, and what an iconic match as well, isn't it? It's one of the most famous. Obviously, Scott won it in the end, didn't they? 3-2. So Jack Charlton was injured early, didn't he? So I think he scored one of England's goals.
Yeah,
and I'd obviously remember seeing the footage of the fans pouring onto the pitch, but it was very much in a good manner, wasn't it? Not any of probably the later ones when it was a bit tasty, let's say. It was all a good manner when the Scots ran onto the pitch at Wembley.
Yeah,
in 1967. So
they didn't take our goalposts in 67.
No,
10 years later they did.
They came back for it. Yeah. That's it. No, great book and great author as well. He wrote Michael McEwen, the author of that book. He wrote The Ghosts of Kafkin Park. Some listeners might know about it. It's a really famous old ground that's no longer. Well, it's still there actually. But it's all overgrown right near Hampden Park. But he wrote Ghosts of Kafkin Park. It was one of our picks of 2021. Great author and a great story. And I think he'll touch on not just obviously the game, but how he actually puts. I see in the summary it says there's two kinds of people in this world: those who insist that football is just a game, and then there's those who know better. Yeah. And he says, then take April 1967, the clash between England and Scotland, for example. So a great read.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to that one.
And what I like with these books is it's not just like, for instance, with that game. If you're going to write, 300, 500 pages maybe on just one game, you're going to have really, really big letters in your words, aren't you? And I like the way that they go back and they talk about, what it was like during those times and the build-up and the game and the aftermath, etc. and what have you. So I'm really looking forward to getting hold of a copy of that book, Gallus, Scotland, England, and the 1967 World Cup final by Michael McEwen.
Excellent. Fabulous. I'll go back to one of the feature articles. So I'm going in no particular order, as I normally do anyway. So, but I'll, again, there's a bit of a theme here with Pitch Publishing. This is a book that came out a couple of months ago, Fear and Loathing at Goodison Park. I'm not sure if we did mention it on our last podcast, but it's a book about Everton Football Club under David Moyes, written by Lou Reed Foster. And it talks about, when David Moyes was appointed the Everton manager midway through the 2001-2 season, and it just when Wayne Rooney came onto the the football planet really, and his meteoric rise from a schoolboy to obviously then moving on to his controversial sale to Man United, isn't he? So, but it's about that, and it's obviously linking about Goodison when you think of Goodison's not got long left, has it? When they move to their new home at Bramley Moor Dock. That 50,000 stadium. I think it's late next year, 2024, when they move there. Really good book. Obviously for Evertonians, a must read. Obviously linking it to Goodison Park. And what I will actually link is just there's a book that came out last year, Goodison Memories. I think
Steve.
Mentioned it on a previous podcast. Yeah, it was Steve Ossett-Zoche. So released last year, which celebrates that legendary stadium. And I think I remember reading back some of the players have played at Goodison Park. You think of Tommy Lawton, Alan Ball, Dixie Dean, Bob Latchford, Pele, DeSadio, Terry Curran. There you go, yeah. Absolutely. The list goes on, but what a famous stadium. But that's, Fear and Loathing at Goodison Park, another one of the feature articles that it did.
And again, going back to 66, the World Cup, Goodison was used as one of the venues for the tournament. And Big Ron, one of his uncles had got a dairy up in Goodison, just by Goodison Road, Goodison Park, and Big Ron spent a lot of that summer up there in Liverpool watching the World Cup finals. So there's a link to Nottingham Forest, your team, and 1967 and 66, and I'm guessing that a Nottingham Forest book's going to get a mention on this podcast as well.
It might do. So is this a good time? Is this a good time to link it in? Then let's go with that.
I think it may well be.
Good segue there. Well, it's just come out very recently, and by a guy called Warren Turner, and it's called "Got That Loving Feeling." So Forest fans will know what that's the title of the book is linked to a song that Forest fans sing. Whenever they score a goal, it's "You've Lost That Loving Feeling." The song by, I forget who it is now.
Righteous Brothers.
That's it, of course, it's Righteous Brothers.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's written by Warren Turner. He was born in Nottingham, the author, and it's the roller coaster for 23 years. So, which I certainly lived as a Forest fan, starting from 1996 under Frank Clark, when just that same year, Forest were playing in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Cup, losing to Bayern Munich. And then, quickly it all went off. David Platt, and then Joe Kinnear. Well, the season was the 2004-2005. It was Joe Kinnear, then Gary Megson led us to the League One, and it was just downhill. It was just awful for so long. And then in stepped in Steve Cooper, and as they say, it's the rest is history. When he moved in. 8 games into the season, bottom of the table, and it was just incredible. I'm still living the dream really now, really. So I'll be doing a QA actually with Warren Turner, and I'll be sharing that on the website at some point as well.
Where will you? You can't just leave that. Where are you going to be doing the Q&A, Andy?
No, it'll be just online.
Okay.
So not in person, no, nothing like that. So I'm just going to do. Unless we decide to do it, we haven't actually done it as of yet. So my thought is just, I'm going to send in a few questions and answers, but there's not a plan as of yet, or I'm not really planning to do. I've never done like a live P&O or podcast like you do, but I'll leave that to the professionals like yourself. So, but I'm looking, that's the plan to do one of that. So, and just share what's in the book and, share some stories, really.
I think that would be... Hold on, Andy. It's not Father Christmas. What do you want, young man? Hold on. There we go. It's almost like Christmas. Next door. There you go, son. All right. There you go, Andy.
Okay.
Bit like Malcolm McDonald when we done that over Christmas and his door went, it was a parcel. But it's mid-August and it's next door's parcel. But there you go.
Wow, excellent.
Yeah, but I think that'd be a good shout because, there's a lot of love. I mean, you might have lost that loving feeling, but there's a lot of love for Stevie Cooper. And I think that if you done a book launch close to the City Ground, another song, Mullican Tyre, I mean, when the Forest fans sing that before kick-off, I mean, it makes the hairs on my arms and body stand up. I think they're absolutely fantastic. So I think it'd be a great shout, not only doing a Q&A online, but a Q&A in a bar, in a pub, by the City Ground, and maybe have a couple of older players that are there that day.
Potentially. Well, we could probably catch up about that if you've got some ideas. But it'd be great. So some of the stories of those 23 years and doing it somewhere near the City Ground would be brilliant. So, I talk about the atmosphere. It's just I know you always think, am I being biased?
No, you're not. It's brilliant.
City Ground, and ever since Cooper came in, and I've never known any better. Certainly in the last 23 years and longer. And you could often hear like the Gary Birtles who done some Forest podcasts, and he'd say, "I've never known the atmosphere. I never knew the atmosphere that good back in the 70s and 80s when we were champions of Europe. The atmosphere is just incredible at the moment." So, and that's all down to that one man, Steve Cooper. So. He could do anything. He could walk into any pub and they never have to buy a drink. So, he could walk in. If he walked in now to my house, I'd give him anything he wants, really.
Yeah,
within reason.
I think within reason. I mean, when you look at managers that have come into football clubs in recent times, he's got to be up there as one of the great mix and matches of English football, to look at where he was, and Terry Curran, Terry identified Steve a few years ago, because he watched him when he was coach of Liverpool's under-18s.
Yeah.
And then he went to manage England, one of the young England teams, and then Swansea. And Terry was talking up Steve Cooper for a long time, and I think that'd be great to involve Terry if you could get Steve there as well. I think it would be a great night. Steve Cooper, Terry Curran, Andy, and the fellow that wrote the book as well. And
Let's see. Steve Cooper's brilliant in things like that. You know, I don't know if you remember, there was a tragedy in Nottingham a few months back. Sadly, it was one of the Forest fans were killed as well. And there was this story shared, I think, pretty athletic. It was today or yesterday, where it was talked about the family were invited to the training ground, and Steve Cooper spent over an hour sitting talking to him. You know, and it's just a proper down to earth, and he's very much, he understands the community. You know, and I think Forrester is just very lucky. He could have gone anywhere, but Forrester very lucky that he chose a club that were really on its knees at the time when he came in. And as I say, the rest is a wonderful history, and hopefully it continues.
So watch this space for the Q&A, a live Q&A at a bar in Nottingham with Steve Cooper and the boys. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. So what we got next, mate?
Next, going back to one of the feature articles I did was the When Dave Went Up. It's the inside story of Wimbledon's 1988 FA Cup win, that famous one against Liverpool. When a small team overcame 88. It was
88. Was it?
87 was Coventry, wasn't it? The diving header, Keith Archer. Year after, When Dave Went Up, it's by Gary Jordan. Gary Jordan's another kind of prolific author as well. He's written a number of books on Wimbledon. He's actually the editor of the club's matchday programme as well.
I've got to say, I don't like Wimbledon. I've never liked Wimbledon, and I never will like Wimbledon. Out of all the 92 clubs, they're probably the only team I dislike.
They had a certain style, didn't they? So
they had no style. They were a load of thugs in football shirts. I just don't like them. But respect and all the best to the author and to everybody at Wimbledon. I'm just not a fan. But there you go. I don't need to be a fan. There are lots of fans that are going to buy this book. So good luck to them all.
Interestingly, one of the bullet points when you see books, when you get a press release, one of the bullet points says there's details of the battle at St James's Park. So I think it just says it a little bit there, but not all the games were pleasing on the eye. Let's say when it involved.
Brian Little, when he was manager of Aston Villa, said, "If we can actually keep the ball on the pitch, we'll beat them." And I think that just about summed up Wimbledon.
That's a great quote. Excellent. And the next one then released. This was released back on the 12th of June, my birthday of all dates. So it's about to be a good book. It's called Ernie by Stephen Poxon. It's basically a heartfelt recollections of a football legend called Ernie Moss. And I love these books where there's names that you don't really know of. I wasn't really familiar. I don't know about you, Paul, but it was
Chesterfield.
Yeah, that's it. So he was a lower league football hero, and he was a local boy that became good, becoming a Chesterfield goal scoring legend. So it's a story of his skill and success, and also heartbreak and football and family, because he sadly passed away in 2021. But what was really interesting, he made a total of 749 league appearances, which puts him in the top 25 of all time football appearances, which is incredible. So
was that all for Chesterfield?
Good question. It might be. I'm not sure actually. I don't know. I'd have to check that. So
Terry Payne played an unbelievable amount of games, didn't he, for Southampton? I think Terry played over 700 games. I mean, the top one is Steve Perryman. I think. What did Steve do, about 900 games to Tottenham? I
think he's just been beaten. He's beaten just by. I don't know if you can. You have another guess. He's a goalkeeper.
For one club?
No.
No.
Not for one club. No. Sorry, I mean overall appearances.
Oh,
sorry.
got ya. No, I'm on about with Steve.
With one, Steve Perriman, yeah. Right up there.
And the same with Terry Payne, just for Southampton, just for Tottenham.
I get you.
Would the fella at Wrexham that's just come back, how many games has he played?
No, it's number one is Pete Shilton. Is apparently over 1,000 appearances across 32 seasons, and he played with 8 separate clubs.
Oh, I thought you meant a recent one then when you were saying that. No.
What the most recent one in the top 25 is a guy called Dean Lewington. He's a defender actually with Milton Keynes Dons.
Oh, right.
He's the son of the former assistant manager Ray Lewington.
Right.
I think is he first team coach at Palace, I think, at the moment, isn't he? I think.
Ray's been in everywhere, and he is. I mean, Alan talks well of Ray Lewington, and when there was at Butch Wilkins' funeral, and that they were reminiscing and talking, and Loftus-Cheek, I think he was at Chelsea at the time. He must have been, because I said this kid Al, he's a good, and I think a lot about him. Clearly not that much because I sold him, but 12 months is a long time in a Premiership club like Chelsea. But Ray Lewington played for Chelsea, and he's been on that coaching merry-go-round, if you like, around the London clubs for years and years. So great. The great Ray Lewington. So his boy got how many appearances for MK?
Yeah, so his boy Dean Lewington, he's the only one that's currently playing now in the top 25, of all time Football League appearances. So, and he's a defender with the Milton Keynes Dons. So, and if I'm correct, he's only ever club has been. I think it was originally when it was the original, Wimbledon, before it was obviously became Milton Keynes Dons, and the less said about that, the better.
Absolutely.
So I think he's a one man. So, but other ones that in the top 25, there's loads of goalkeepers. But I was fascinated just to see. You got David James.
Is Derek Parkin in there for Wolverhampton Wanderers?
Oh, I'd have to have a look. I'll come back to you. I'll have a look at that.
He holds a record for Wolves. And I think Big Ron played a lot of games for Oxford United as well.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's something we'll cover off for the next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I've just got a list of goalkeepers. There's David James, David Bessant, who we just talked about, Ray Clements, Pat Jennings, and Tommy Hutchinson, whose book came out not that long ago.
Yeah. Again, spent an hour with Tommy. Not face to face, but we did it on down the wire. The podcast, Legends of the 70s. Again, access the podcast. How you like to access your podcast. But a phenomenal player, tremendous man, and some lovely stories as well. Tommy Hutchinson, one of the greats of the game. Never played the game of football while he was at school,
Did he not? Oh, wow.
No, I said that. Wow. You're joking. I said, no, never played it while I was at school. And you're thinking, how can you be that good, from leaving school? I know, incredible. But the great Tommy Hutchinson played over 1,000 games.
Obviously most of it Coventry, wasn't it? So
he played a lot at Cov, Manchester City, Blackpool, of course, as well,
Swansea,
Played in Europe with Swansea.
Yeah, excellent. But so going back to it, but Ernie, that's the book by Steve Foxes. So I love these kind of stories. Again, someone you want to learn of, and just celebrates. Chesterfield fans will obviously know him. So, but that's Stephen Moss. So bringing it another one. A feature did of a book I was sent as well. So we talked about earlier about the author patron, but he sent me his book in his volume 2. They played for David Pleat at Luton Town. So he's done 2 books. He's done Phil Duffy, the author is. He's done volume 1 and a volume 2, and a huge book. I've got it in front of me here, and it's interviews of all the players during that time. So it covers the period from 1978 to 1986. So Bob Hatton to Steve Foster.
Interviewed every player?
I'm not sure every player, but quite a lot of them. Yeah, there's a lot of them, a hell of a lot of them. So it's covered in here. Yeah, it's one hell of a book. It's fantastic, really well written. Yeah. It's a right old chunk of a book. So and it's quite timely as well with Luton Town. You know, getting in the Premier League as well, isn't it? So you know they're in a bit of a limelight at the moment, even though they still can't play at Kenilworth Road.
No, the game's called off, isn't it, the weekend?
Yeah, this weekend.
Yeah, but again, it's the modern game, isn't it? Kenilworth Road was well good enough in the 70s to play First Division games, and this is what I don't like about the modern game. Yeah, but great. You know, it is what it is.
But the ground improvements, you know, that's what it is, and it's to meet the broadcast media requirements. It's costing them £10 million.
Yeah, it's crazy.
From what I gather, and it's just bonkers. So, but with plenty of away fans, Premier League will have a bit of a shock when they go through that away end through the houses.
Oh God, yeah. But again, there's no other ground like Kenilworth Road. You got to feel a bit sorry for the people that actually live there and sitting there in the back garden having a quiet, drink, and the family have come round, and then I don't know, Chelsea turn up.
Exactly, yeah. But, where they're going to park for starters.
Yeah, good luck with that. But, happy days.
Excellent. Well, next one. I'll keep going to you, jump in.
Yep, you crack on.
Paul, I've got Golden Generations by Michael Galway. And this was a story of the 2006 FIFA Men's World Cup, which I actually went to. So I went to that World Cup
in Germany. Yeah.
Yeah, so I spent a few days in Berlin. I think it was Berlin. I can't really remember much of it, but it was great.
How much did you have to drink? You can't remember You can't remember what city you were in. I mean, I've heard of a few people that can't remember what bar that they were in, but they remembered the city.
Just about. No, and it was the hospitality. I always remember the people, the Germans. They're wonderful people, so friendly. It was incredible. They couldn't do enough for you. I didn't smoke. I remember one of my friends smoked, and he'd run out of cigarettes. And I remember the barman saying, "Don't." And he was about to go and leave the pub to go to and find, a shop to get some cigarettes. He says, "Don't you leave, I'll go and get them for you." The barman left the pub, went to got him cigarettes, brought him back. So I don't think he wanted to lose his money as well, kind of thing, from there. He was paying, but no, great World Cup, 2006, just in the personal memories. And it will always be remembered, obviously, that final when Zinedine Zidane, that mad moment, the headbutt, it's extraordinary, really, when you look back, and I still think of the image now, it's in the book, when he walks past, the World Cup, and he exits the football stage, didn't he? And, because he almost single-handedly dragged them, to the final, and then, it was obviously Italy that went on to win it.
I mean, what a player he was, easy.
Yeah.
Got turned down famously by Kevin Keegan at Newcastle.
Did he?
Yeah.
No, I didn't remember that.
Yeah. Silk had one of Silk's players. So he phoned up Kevin Keegan. He says, "Kev, I've got the ideal player for you." He was at Bordeaux. He was just leaving Bordeaux, and Silk had gone and watched him, and he said the best player that he was just incredible. What a player! Yeah. So he phoned up Kevin. He says, "Kev, you got to get sign him. You got to sign him." So he said, "Leave it with me, Silk." So he then left it for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and Silk phoned him up. He said, "Kev, Zinedine Zidane, what do you?" He said, "Silk, we've sent our team to have a look at him, and the report that come back was he wasn't good enough to play for Wolverhampton Wanderers, who were at that time bottom of the Championship." And, and Barry Silkman said, "You are having me in your Kev. You are making the biggest mistake of your career." And to be fair, Kevin Keegan did not see Zinedine Zidane play football, but he sent one of his staff to watch him, and the report come back that he wasn't good enough to play for the bottom of the Championship. And
I hope he's still not a scout.
No, absolutely. I mean, a great story. Silky tells a great story, and it's on our podcast as well, Maverick Tales. That tale of Barry Silkman talking about, and also as well Georgie Weah. Georgie Weah was touted to all the Premier League teams, and nobody wanted Georgie Weah.
That rings a bell. Yeah,
and Barry did say he couldn't work out whether he was a better footballer or a cook. He was brilliant in the kitchen, but he went to AC Milan, and within a few years, he was World Player of the Year. So just shows you what our scouts know about football. But there you go.
Oh, fabulous. That's why I love listening to your podcast, Paul. It's those stories that you'll never hear of. So, and they're shared on platforms like yourselves. The next one, I'm just going to run through a few. So we've got In Safe Hands. It's about Rangers goalkeeping greats. The author is Alistair Aird, who's a pretty prolific author himself. He's wrote a load of books on his Rangers FC. So, it's basically a story of the players who've all kept goal for Rangers since its inception in 1872, and it's got a forward as well by the current Rangers manager, Michael Beale. So it also includes, I do recall when I was reading it, it was quite a poignant tribute to the late Andy Gorham.
From a great goalkeeper. And character.
Goffin. Yeah, he was, absolutely. So,
I don't like him, that Beale. I don't like him. Something about him, he just gets up my nose.
Yeah, he was at Liverpool as well, wasn't he, if I remember?
Yes, he was. Yeah. But I did like Andy Gorham. I thought he was an absolute character of the game. So safe hands.
Excellent. Another one I mentioned that's recently just come out. So as of Monday just gone, as we're recording this, is When the Sky Was Blue. And this is the inside story of Coventry City's Premier League years, written by a guy called Rich Chamberlain, going out through pitch. And it celebrates Coventry City's 9-season adventures in the Premier League. So from being the founding members, when it says founding members, just to be clear, it talks about the Premier League, not the Football League. So it's quite...
It does wind me up.
You feel like you have to say that, just a bit of a clarity. When it say founding members, that means, it's not. It's Premier League.
They were one of the clubs that stole and ripped out the heart of English football. So don't come a founding member with me, pal. I don't. You can write down what you like, and when you just identify 9 seasons of Coventry City, when you look at all their great Coventry sides and games that they had, in the 70s under the Jimmy Hill, the Sky Blue Revolution, and all of that there, it's forgotten and it's just highlighted in the we were founder members of the Premier League. Well,
and in fairness to Rich, I should say, he is a former freelance journalist. He's interviewed like the likes of Jimmy Hill, etc. So he's done his bit as well. But this book obviously focuses on those years in the Premier League.
I just go straight past those books if I'm absolutely honest.
I tell you what I do love in that book. There's a great picture from the sky of Highfield Road.
Yes.
So you remember that ground? So
I've been there.
What a ground that was. Yeah.
I've been on the pitch. I've been on the pitch there.
Have you?
Yeah, when Mickey Harford scored a goal, 1982, last game of the season, and we took thousands there, and that was the first day I was ever on a football pitch.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
I mean, there was no trouble. I mean, well, not from me. There was quite a bit of trouble from others. But I was just there celebrating Birmingham City staying up, as I did my first season, proper season going down there, 73-74 season. When we beat Norwich, we stayed up, and I said to my dad, "What's going on? They're running around the pitch like we've won something." Nothing ever changes at Birmingham City. What we got next, mate?
But they might do now with Tom Brady and Cohen.
Don't even get me started. I hope they ain't paying him in cryptocurrency, by the way.
We'll move on.
Yeah.
And this is probably links quite well that. So there's a book that came out called Moments That Could Have Changed Football Forever. It's What If.
It's got that. By Snap.
Yeah. Excellent.
Peter Thornton.
Yeah, that's it. Two of them. There's two Peters. Peter Thornton and
and Peter Prickett.
Prickett,
that's the one. That's the first snap that we've had in this podcast. How long have we been going? Hold on a minute.
We're at half time, I think. 45 minutes.
34 minutes on my
34, right.
On my clock. So yeah, we've on 34 minutes. We've had a snap.
There we go.
But again, the podcast that I do with Alan, My Life, My Music, and we always talk about those if only moments. In fact, we did one of the podcasts that was called, If Only. And football is absolutely littered with those if only moments. So that's a book that I'll have a look at and be very interested. I look at all of your books that you post up, and there's some of the books that really catch my eye and get me juices flowing. And this is a book that really does it on every aspect of football for me.
To whet your appetite and those juices, because every what if is around about 1,500 words he's done on. So I picked out 3 that I thought I'd share. So one of them is, what if Jimmy Chriis had not been left out of the 1966 World Cup final? Interesting one. And then another one, what if United had sacked Sir Alex at the end of the 80s?
Yeah, two great
ones. You remember famously, I think it was, I always remember Mark Robbins scoring in the FA Cup at City Ground, Nottingham, and that pretty much saved him. And I think this one, what if there's no VAR? Wow, there you go.
Again, and I was critical of VAR this week, but I think what we have to balance up is there's nothing wrong with the technology. It's the idiots that use it is the problem.
Yes,
that's the problem. The idiot. I mean, with that penalty that should have been a penalty to Wolves, how does the referee look at that and doesn't give a penalty? And then it goes to VAR, and you have 2 people that are referees that look at that and go, I don't think it's a penalty. I think you should be sacked.
I can only think when they got back to that state, they weren't looking at the screen. They must have been watching something else, on Netflix or something, because they couldn't have seen it, because it's just, I don't know how you come to that judgment. I heard someone ring in on one of the radio shows kind of thing, and said it shouldn't have been like a yellow card, it was GBH.
Yeah, absolutely. Took him out.
That's just unbelievable.
Just took him out. Yeah. And I heard Ten Hag saying, well, he got there a little bit later, didn't appear. And I'm thinking, mate, it's a penalty because he got there after he touched the ball. He wiped him out. I mean, and this is what annoys me. Just be honest. Just be honest.
I know it exactly. It annoys me when managers do that, especially Ten Hag. I'd much prefer, and I think a Man U fan would say this, I much prefer my manager to be absolutely wrong. I can't believe we got away with that. It would just but the good thing is he got apology, didn't he, the Wolves manager?
Yeah, but that don't do him any good, does it? He'd rather have a penalty.
Unbelievable.
And where were they? They were having what's it called? A corporate, I think it's called. A prawn sandwich brigade situation, as Roy Keane would say. I mean, they shouldn't be anywhere near that. You're a referee, do your job. When you've done your job, bugger off. No one wants to talk to you. You're just a referee. God, I don't know. It winds me
I know, it does.
You've wound me up a lot tonight, I'll be honest with you.
Well, I'll leave it with VAR there, because I was going to say, it does, as a football fan that goes to the game as well, and I've experienced it in the Championship, no VAR, and now experiencing it in the Premier League. I tell you, it sticks out, and I remember a lot of people around us when Forrest scored a particular goal to make it 4-2 against Southampton, and no one cheered. It was the strangest experience, because you just had this feeling. You thought it was one of these because you knew it was such an important moment, and because of VAR, there was no reason as to think it was going to be, but it definitely had that. It does take away that what ultimately is the football about, is that experience of cheering a goal, isn't it? So
the football club that has the worst decisions with VAR is Aston Villa. If you look at, I mean, I'm a Birmingham City fan, but I go down Villa Park with the boys if they've got a spare ticket, and I watch a game as a neutral. Yeah, of course, I want the Villa to win. They're a local team and all the rest of it. But I have never seen decisions that I'll look at it and I think, if that's a Villa, that definitely isn't a goal. And I was watching the game against Newcastle. I thought Newcastle were superb, by the way.
Oh, they were.
But there were a couple of decisions, and I looked in, I thought he's offside, and they give the goal, and I thought, had that been a Villa, that goal would have been disallowed. 100% it would have been disallowed. And I think some teams just do get the bad decisions all the time. And I think that when you go up, like Forest have gone up, you come up against a Man United or an Arsenal, you're not going to get them decisions. And VAR was brought in to almost protect you from bad decisions, but you're just getting worse decisions than you would have had ordinarily.
Yeah, I think the referees now, they're kind of, what is it? They're kind of, they know they can't make the decision. I think it's made them worse referees because they know, and it must be, if I was a referee, it must be in my back of my head as well. You got to think the humans that, I'm not sure about that. I might as well leave it because the cameras are showing. It's just... What they should
do is referee the game to the best of their ability.
Exactly.
Forget VAR. The VAR is a video assistant referee. So if you and you're the referee and I'm sitting in Stockley Park, I go, Andy, I'm almost, I know I've just seen it. That's definitely handball, mate. Go and have a look at that. Yeah. So you go, you have a look. Yeah, Paul, you're right, penalty. So things that you actually miss while you're officiating, that's what they're there to assist you. But they're not. Yeah. They're re-refereeing it, and the referee, as a consequence, is letting things go and letting it go to VAR. So the referee actually is not refereeing the game. It's poor refereeing. And if you can't referee, sack them and get some in that can. I've got no time for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sorry for winding you up, Paul. And if anyone's listening in, and they are sharing our conversation and linking it back to books, they will love a book called Is It Just Me or Is Modern Football Shit?
Yes, basically. It is. Yeah, basically.
By Jim Keogh, another great writer as well. That came out in 2021. And, you can trust me, VAR gets a mention in that particular book. One book, bringing it back to the good old days, let's say. A bit before our time, I'm pretty sure, Paul, your time as well, but Mr. Corinthian by Pa Jackson and The Casual Corinthians by Lou Walker. Lou Walker, another author, written a number of books. But it's about the Mr. Corinthian, Nicholas Lane Pa, I think was his nickname, Jackson, who's the founding father of the famous Corinthian Football Club. What a phenomenon, really, in the game's early years. A team of amateur gentlemen. They achieved victories over FA Cup winners, league champions. The players comprised the whole England national team as well at one stage. So, but they went on overseas tours and really took the game of football across the globe, and it's had its impact. So many parts. South America certainly was one of the areas, but that's a book by Lou Walker. So,
but that's why Corinthians in Brazil are called Corinthians, isn't it? Because they took the name. But I think we mentioned this on a previous pod. I certainly have mentioned it in Book Corner on the Current View, because I'd looked at that, identified that, and that was a book that, again, I like books with historical content. Going back to that Ernie Moss, again, that's a book that, if I got time to read them, I'd read that. But, because I think that when there's stories like that, I like to read those kind of stories. When you have a modern day game player, that's still playing in the modern game now, I go like, why would I want to bother reading that? I can see what you're doing, mate. You're on my bloody television screen every 5 minutes, because it's gonna be a top player, isn't it, that they're going to be writing a book about. I mean, my favourite player is Jack Grealish. There was a book that come out about Jack Grealish last year, I think. I'm not going to give him a mention because I don't like the bloke. But I wouldn't read it because Jack's still playing. When you've finished your career, then I'd read about it, but not now while you're playing.
It'll come as no surprise. And a lot of people, if they've read autobiographies as much as I do, I can think probably on one hand how many good books there is of when it was written by featured footballers as they were still playing or just finished. Actually, even them are not. It's just not great. Just not great. Not that the backstory. After what they did, they finished football and the way their life carried on. So just haven't got that depth or interest, to be quite frank. So yeah.
I also think, Andy, the modern player is just so pampered. It's beyond comprehension. Whereas, I've done a podcast with Johnny Giles, and I read John's, but his name ain't even Johnny. Yeah. It's like his name's Michael, and they called him John while he was in England, and then called him Johnny, but his name's Michael Giles. So, the story about him growing up in Ormond Square, and I'm reading it, it's just fascinating. It's a great bit of reading, and, these players, not for me, with the modern game, and generally speaking, the modern player. So I subscribe to that fella's, the modern game is shite. I tend to agree, sir. Well done. I hope you sell a lot of books.
Excellent. I think you're on this next book that's coming up. So this is coming out in October. So I'll mention a couple of books that's coming up the next month because obviously we'll have some podcasts. So October, by the way, is by far, in my experience, the busiest month of the year because lots of books come out at that period, and there's a reason for it. Actually, it's to catch that Christmas market coming up as well. So it's coming up. Well, the one book that's coming out is Liam Brady.
Oh, you're joking!
Born to be a footballer. Yeah. So
really, who's written that?
It's his autobiography.
Yeah, but who's ghostwritten it, do you know?
Oh, I don't know, actually. I don't know, yeah. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it. It's only recently I'm aware of it. So
Born to be a footballer?
Yeah, it's called Born to be a Footballer.
What a player.
And I don't know about you, whenever I think of Liam Brady, I always think back to that goal when John Motson, I think. Look at that, just look at that. What a goal. And it's that, he tackles on the edge of the area. Yeah,
5-0 against Spurs, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah. 1978. What a goal that was. So, but what a player. So, one of the all-time greats at Arsenal. But his career, he went to Juventus, then he won 2 Serie A's. Serie A's. He also played for Sampdoria, Internazionale, Inter. But yeah, quite a career. So that'll be a interesting book. And it says here, full of honest insights, anecdotes and recollections of extraordinary times on a compelling story of a 50-year career that's unparalleled in Irish sport. So it's been published by an Irish publisher. So, but I'm not familiar with. So,
because he done a lot. He done a lot on RTE, didn't he, Liam? With Johnny Giles as well.
I think he still does. Yeah.
And who was the other fella?
Oh, you mean
yes, him. No, him. Yeah. His name. His name will come. Really controversial.
Goodness, it's one of my favourite books as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. It'll come back to it in a moment,
yeah.
But Alan Hudson, that was one of the if onlys. If only Terry Neal would have kept Alan Ball within that Arsenal team instead of sold Alan Ball and had Hudson to replace him, you would have had a midfield trio of Chippy, Uddy and Bawley. For me, that would have been the greatest midfield trio in English football ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Phenomenal.
And Al was saying how brilliant Chippy was. He got this supreme confidence about him. He said there's few players that got Osgood had got it. Alan said I developed it when I was at Stoke, but I didn't have it at Chelsea. Osgood had it, and Brady had it. Brady was, and that left foot. Kenny Burns always used to say you could open a can of peas.
Yeah,
could open a tin of peas with that left foot, Brady.
Eamon Dunphy is his name.
Eamon Dunphy.
The guy you're thinking of.
Yeah,
so only a game. It's one of my top 20 actually. Favourite all-time books. I can't believe I forgot his name. So
Eamon Dunphy.
Yeah, Eamon Dunphy. Very controversial, like you say. Yeah,
absolutely.
On the list.
There used to be
RTE.
Eamon, Chippy, and Johnny Giles as well. RTE.
Yeah.
So and you say that's coming out in October.
It is, that's October, that is. So we've got a couple of months, to look forward to that one. But
I'm sure that'll be a
popular book.
Big fan of Liam Brady. What a player.
Excellent. Bringing it back to books that recently come out, there's one that was called Pretty Polly.
Okay.
It's one of the best looking covers I've seen in a long time. And
is it a parrot?
It's not quite, no, but very colourful like a parrot. It's about football kits. And as you ever look on Twitter or any kind of social media, but the football kits are so popular. But Pretty Polly,
do you know what? I don't get them.
Shirt,
I don't get it.
No, I'm not. I'm not one of them.
It's like football shirts and carry on next.
Yeah, but this is the history. I love the front cover though, so you'll recognise some of the shirts. But it tells a fascinating story of football shirts, charting its dramatic evolution over 150 years, and it definitely has changed incredible, isn't it? Yeah, God Almighty, it's a different kit. Well, it's about 3 or 4 kits. When they do like Forest had launched their kit at the start of the season, not just one kit, you launch 3 kits. You know, it's just incredible. So one of them, I think you're aware probably for like one game in the whole season. But yeah, that's Pretty Polly by Pitch again, written by Alex Ireland. So, it talks about from the modest beginnings to a product that it's the centre of $1 billion industry, and it is. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, so, made out of Velcro, aren't they? Because they're an absolute rip-off.
Well, good line, excellent. There it is. And then one of the books that recently come out, there's by a guy called Dave Thomas, a prolific writer, about Burnley FC, and this is Burnley FC champions again, and it's about last season's. I'm amazed how he managed to write his book so quickly, because he's wrote a book about last season, which is literally not that long ago it finished.
He's probably got most of his stuff already done on a spreadsheet, and then brought out, because he's probably been doing it and thought, right, I could carry on with this, and I've got another book here. So that's probably how he does it, yeah.
But he's written, it says in his, a bit about the author, 26 books he's written, which is incredible, isn't it? I haven't read 26 words.
Who did you say wrote it? What was his name again?
Dave Thomas.
Oh, yeah,
the former headmaster.
Yeah,
Dave Thomas. Yeah, so he wrote one of the best, really good book on Bob Lord.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll probably remember that. So he was the self-made butcher who ruled the club at Burnley from, I think it's from the 50s to 1981, something like that. So legendary.
There's a great story that Paul Fletcher tells on the podcast that I've done with Paul when he met Bob Lord, and it's a cracker. So if you go on to the SRBMedia, or rather Patreon, it's all the www.patreon.com/SRBmedia. Go on to our Legends of the 70s, and all the stories are on there. And in Paul Fletcher's podcast, he talks about Bob Lord. And it's a cracking story. But Dave's written a load of Burnley books. He's an absolute pinnacle of knowledge, font of knowledge of Burnley Football Club. He used to follow me. Then for some reason he decided not to.
They're an historic club, aren't they, Burnley? Yeah. They're one of the founder members of the Football League.
I must have pissed him off. He stopped following.
Hopefully he's listening and he realises I don't know, he changed his mind.
But he does write some great books, so whether people follow me or decide not to, he does write some great books. Is there a book on Burnley 1960 when they won the league, when they were champions then? Because that'd be a great read. I'm not too enamoured with the modern stuff, but they done that, and then in 1931 when they went 29 games unbeaten, 30 games unbeaten, 29 games unbeaten.
Yeah, the book that definitely brings to mind, he's another prolific Burnley writer by Tim Quelch. It was called Never Had It So Good. It was about Burnley's incredible 1959-60 league title.
Yeah, that's the one.
I think that may be the one you're thinking about. It was a remarkable feat, wasn't it? The smallest club ever to win the title.
Tim Quelch, was he the fella that wrote that book about the 59 season going into the 60s with Jimmy Hill on the front? Sure, that was Tim Quelch. I forget the name of the book.
Do you mean? Oh, yes. Yeah, The End of Innocence.
That's the one, The End of Innocence.
Yeah, the Watershed season.
That's the one. That was Tim Quelch, wasn't it?
It was, well remembered, Yeah, I think that was based on the same season, wasn't it? Yeah, with Jimmy Hill on the front. Yeah. Cracking front cover, actually.
He's a brilliant cover. But again, Pitch do some brilliant front covers, don't they?
They do.
What we got next, mate?
Excellent. Next up, I've got going back to one that was recently released, a sprinkle of magic about the non-league clubs in the FA Cup.
Yeah,
Snap. Brilliant. We're there again.
Snap. Second one.
Excellent. Yeah. So I love the FA Cup, and this is written by a guy called Aaron Moore. Yeah, it's focused on the non-league clubs. It's written, just to be clear, if anyone's looking at it, it's written about the club since 2009. So I could probably understand it, actually. Yeah, because it's probably, I might write.
Not Snap.
Oh, right. Not the same book you're thinking of.
No, it is. But why did you do it? Why did you do it from just 2009 onwards?
I know. I can only think he might be doing another one. He might do another stage kind of thing. So,
well, I mean,
but you're similar to me. I did think. I thought when I saw it, it was like, you never done it. I thought it might have gone a bit further back, man.
I was going to talk about the Leatherhead Lip.
Hereford.
Well, Hereford,
Hereford, sorry.
But the Leatherhead Lip. Kelly, when he scored a brace at Filbert Street, didn't he? And then you got Dickie Guy, who's probably my favourite Wimbledon player, but I don't like Wimbledon, but he made that. Yeah. Didn't he save a piece of Lorimer penalty in 1974? And then, of course, Altrincham that knocked out Birmingham City. Robert Hopkins scored an own goal. In fact, they had a reunion a few years ago, and they invited Hoppy to it. David Seaman was the goalkeeper that day for Birmingham. Hoppy said he's never going to make it, that lad. So I like the 70s and then the 60s. Colchester knocking out Leeds United in 1971, Ray Crawford. So many brilliant non-league. And that's what I thought the book would be about. So
it's the more recent ones. It's you've got Stourbridge, Hendon, you've got Lincoln City. So it's either going to if he's listening, Aaron, that's your next one. Do it further back as well, or someone else thinks of that.
Write that one and we'll buy it.
But it's that's another one that's come out through pitch. So but either way, I love the FA Cup. So I love those stories as well. I go to watch some of it. A couple of years back now, I went to watch. Was it last year, actually? My town where I'm originally from, the village nearby called Colville Town, they got to the FA Cup first round. So when they played, I forget, it's Charlton. Charlton.
Playing black and white, don't they, Colville?
That's it, the Ravens.
They're mad. They're crackers, their fans are, aren't they? I remember...
I was in a village outside of Colville. I'll just make clear, I'm not quite from Colville. Nothing wrong with Colville, by the way. But when I was listening in, and they recognise who I am, so nothing wrong with Colville.
They took hundreds. I used to do a Moore show, and then they come to Solihull, and I thought, blimey, these fans are they're mental,
passionate,
and they're all black and white and Ravens and that. And I thought, great fans, mad as March hares. But
I know a lot of them by person, so great people, great characters, and real characters, and you get that in
and would it have been a mining village back in the day, Colby?
Yeah, absolutely, very famous. Had a horrible disaster, I remember, back in the 20th century, 1900s. So, where there's now a Morrison supermarket where it used to be. So, very, very much a mining area. Hence the Colville, really. I'm assuming that's where it comes from. I might be completely wrong.
You're probably right,
I'm assuming that's where it comes from. So, that's Sprinkle of Magic. A couple of us, I mentioned past releases. So, there was a book that come out called No Foreign Game by James Quinn. And this is about association football and the making of Irish identities. So, this book takes a unique window in the history of... I love the history as well, myself, and football. And this is about the early stages of association football from the 1880s in Ireland. And it links in with the history of Ireland and Britain and, and a keen insight into the making of national, regional, sort of sectarian, class, gender identities and, crystallised around Irish football. And it weaves in between some of that political, social, cultural and sporting history, really. So, it tells a story, not just a division of conflict, but also solidarity and celebration. So, really, Martin O'Neill's on the front cover of the book, and written by James Quinn. So, book I will be reading. I'm always fascinated with history, as I say, and I'm a little bit of an Irish background as well. I'll be interested to read that one.
And of course, the Irish teams used to be involved in the FA Cup many years ago. English, Irish, Scottish, and Welsh clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's just come out. And one other I'll mention that's come out recently, and I'll come on to some of the more that's coming out soon, is United with Dad. And it's
I've seen
going out through Pix Publishing, by a guy called Simon Lord. And I'm just going to paraphrase what it says here. United with Dad. It's an emotional tale of football fandom and fatherhood, detailing the agonising final 2 years in a man's life while drawing in on his love for and memories of Manchester United. So it's written by David's son, Simon Lord, who reflects on his father's life and narration and linking it around football. So it's one of those we can all, when we started football, well, certainly me anyway, I think of the family kind of in the connection. That's why my dad took me to football. That's where it all started. So I love these kind of stories. And he's a lifelong Manchester United fan. And this is his first book. And he was inspired by a widely shared article he wrote for Joe Media shortly after his father's death in 2019. So it obviously got a lot of exposure, and he thought, I'll have a go at writing a book. And there you go. He's now an author, so well done him. So
superb.
United with Dad, that's called.
Superb. Sounds like a great read.
Yeah, absolutely. So other books then that's coming soon. Move on to these. So I've got one that was recently sent to me. So I'll be doing a feature soon. It's called Match Fit by a guy called Johnny Lowry. It's an exploration of mental health in football. So Johnny Lowry, the author, he was one of the first reviews I ever did on the My Football Books website. So if you ever went back to my very first reviews, I did a review of one of his books called 6 Added Minutes. He's a massive Sutton United fan, so it talks about some of their joys they had in the FA Cup. I think it's mainly focused around 2006, but obviously I always think about the one with Coventry as well. You might remember.
I was going to say, just about to say, I'm sure they knocked out Coventry, didn't they?
They did.
In the 80s. Yeah.
So, but this is Match Fit, an exploration of mental health in football. So it goes from the Premier League down to five-a-side, and it's on this. It's got candid contributions from the likes of Chris Kirkland, Paul Lambert, Marcus Spence, and it talks on some of the issues footballers face after retirement and the rise of social media, and the impact it has on footballers. Also, I guess it'll also touch on the ones that don't hit the highs, do they, of football? And there's plenty of stories of people that don't quite make it, and they're devastated by it because they focused on just being a footballer, and all of a sudden they've got to go out to the big wide world and do something else.
Absolutely.
So, it touches on that really. So, seasoned pros discuss the challenges they faced in football, speaking openly about personal experiences. So, sounds a quite hard-hitting book, but an interesting one at the same time. So that's coming out, and again, that's right through Pitch, which I feel like I say nearly every time now.
Yeah.
The next one is called Answered Prayers, and this is by now. This is about the 1966 World Cup, and I remember when I shared this on Twitter, and someone rightly put, so another book about the 1966 World Cup, but then you realise who the author is, and he's a chap called Duncan Hamilton.
Yeah,
now, Duncan Hamilton,
a lot of books. Duncan.
He's 3 times William Hill Sports Book of the Year prize, and so it's called Answered Prayers, and it's England and the 1966 World Cup. So I'd be interested to see what else he does, write about something that's obviously covered a lot. But the fact it's written by Duncan Hamilton, it's always going to make a good read.
Done a Cloughie book, didn't he, Duncan Hamilton?
He did, yeah. One of my, if not me, favourite of all, Provided You Don't Kiss Me.
Yeah.
20 years of Brian Clough. Yeah, wonderful story. Some of the chapters on their own could be a book on its own, especially the one where he talks about Brian Clough's health, alcoholism and how he struggled and all that. But it's the way it's written. It's just you can feel it. You feel like sometimes when you read a book, I know you don't read that often, but there's a book where you really do feel like you're with you're with him when he's writing it. You feel yourself in that what he's writing about. So through the use of words. I wish I could do that. But,
I did write a book. I did read a book while I was away in Turkey.
Okay, great.
Frank Worthington, one or two. Yeah. So I'm doing a tribute podcast about Frank because Frank would have been 75 this November. So we've got I've got pieces by Alan Kirbishley, Joe Gallagher, Keith Birchin, Alan Hudson, Terry Curran, Willie Morgan, and one or two others about the great Frank Worthington. So
fantastic.
So I was quite proud of myself. What have we got next, my boy?
Next one, it's coming out the end of this month, so end of August. It's The King Takes Over, and this is about Liverpool of the Dalglish years, from 1985 to 1991. So it's a nostalgic account of when Liverpool were the best team in the land, and they played that style of football. And and it's about Liverpool's great, arguably one of the greatest players of all time, isn't it? A great manager as well. So look at those. Yeah, King in those years. So, but it also touches on, which is inevitably about how the Hillsborough disaster impacted him as well. And it also talks about how John Barnes, the first black player to be signed with Liverpool, overcome racism from the terraces to become a legend in the red during those through that period. So, but written by a guy called Sharif Abdallah, who's a football writer and blogger. I think I'm looking at it, I think it's his first book. So again, have to pitch. So that's The King Takes Over. So any Liverpool fans and any fans from that area, and certainly King Kenny, will love that as well. So that's coming out at the end of the month.
Lovely.
And then coming into September, I think you might have shared this. I think I saw recently. It's about. It's called El Mes Grande.
Ah, snap. Yeah, snap. Got that one as well. Story of Argentina.
River Plate.
Yeah, the biggest, the most successful club by Mark Orton. Yeah, I look at. There was one that come out last month. Again, it was the Brazilian team, wasn't it? Flamengo.
I've got that one. Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Yeah, Flamengo.
Yeah,
Flamengo. Is it flamenco or Flamengo? One's a dance and one's a football club, and it's only a consonant away from each other. But yeah, massive football clubs like that really interest me, and I love the title El Mas Grande. It's like it just said, and a picture, iconic picture on the front cover as well.
Wonderful,
doesn't it?
Isn't it?
So the great River Plate.
Yeah, the iconic stadium, is it? The Monumental, I think it is, stadium. So I've just seen, I remember looking at clips of, obviously the famous rivalry they've got with Boca Juniors. Obviously both of them, that's a rivalry and a half. But they earned the nickname, because they're the largest club in South America, they earned the nickname the Millionaires. And over the years they've propelled some of the greatest talents from the continent to fame. So, great sides, and it talks about the great sides of the 50s, 70s and 90s, right up to the all-conquering reign of I think he's just left, actually, I'm pretty sure, but the coach called Marcelo Gallardo. But yeah, so Alfred Di Stefano, sorry. So amongst others, played in that shirt with the red stripe across.
I mean, what else? The Blonde Arrow, one of the greats of all time. Yeah. I'm almost certain that they played a game for the Hungarians, the Torino side, El Grande Torino. I'm sure that they played Torino as the first game when they had the air disaster. I'd have to look it up, but I'm sure that River Plate played, and there's still a lot of goodwill today between Torino and River Plate. So El Mas Grande, looking forward to that one.
Yeah, but I echo what you're saying. These massive clubs, aren't they? And I love reading about the stories. But I'll link back to the one you did mention, though, Flamengo. So that's the one that came out last month. That was written by Stephen Brent.
That's the one. Yeah.
And
he's written a few books, hasn't he now, Stephen?
Yeah, I think he wrote one on Boca Juniors, actually, I think, that guy,
Okay.
Stephen. But yeah, so, well, again, it's the most popular club in Brazil and the richest in Brazil, Flamengo.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I remember reading one of the stats. They've got over 40 million supporters, and that was as of 2022. So, wow, just incredible, isn't it? It's just, wow.
It's incredible.
It's massive.
It's mind-blowing. And when you look at these, they're talking about Saudi Arabian clubs going into the Champions League.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be that long until you have a Super League where you've got River Plate, you've got all the big clubs. I know there's a World Club tournament in America. I think it's this Christmas, isn't it? But I think the next development will be not a European, but a World Super League. And I think it will be Saudi-led. And you're not going to have a broadcaster like that. You'll have a Netflix scenario and Amazon, and it will all be streamed. And I think it'll be absolutely massive and global.
It will. It's funny you should mention that, though, because they're quite famous when they beat mighty Liverpool, linking back to the 80s. 1981, they won the Intercontinental Cup while beating Liverpool. Flamengo did, and that's what put them into a bit of a limelight as well. Yeah. So, but again, some of the players that played there, so you had Zico.
I was going to say Zico.
And Jorginho, Romero, Ronaldinho as well, from more recent times. And many of the stars of Tele Santana's great team in 1982 played for Flamengo. So, what a club. And again, it's one of those big clubs, isn't it? That you love to read about, really. So.
Absolutely massive.
Excellent.
What have you got next? Have we got any more snaps coming up?
Yeah, so a couple of other ones that's coming up. Thai football tales.
Snap.
Snap, excellent. We're on it again.
Yeah, it just caught my fancy. A beautiful madness. When I look at a title like that, I think, oh, and it's nice, colourful book cover by Matt Riley. And Matt's got in touch with us on Twitter.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
he is brilliant.
If you want anything, some images from the book, etc., just give us a shout. So I did say that we would be talking about the book, Thai Football Tales, A Beautiful Madness by Matt Riley. So all the best with that going forward, Matt.
Yeah, give him a shout out. He's a great supporter of my page. He shares a lot of what I've done, and he's a big supporter of a lot of pitch publishing, fellow authors. He's a great fellow. He's a fellow. Football book enthusiast. So following on Twitter, his Twitter handle is Capoodle, CABOODLE68. So following on there. But just give a bit of a snapshot. I love the sound of that book. Yeah. He basically was, it sounds fascinating and bizarre at the same time, but he was working as an English media officer in Thailand, and basically he was given unique access, seldom granted to foreigners, to some of the country's most powerful clubs. So it's a reporter from the inside of the football bubble, let's say, in Thailand, from spending an afternoon, it says, with Brian Robson in the Manchester United team hotel to persuading a player stopping off in Bangkok on the way to sign for an A-League club to abandon his journey and play in Thailand. Basically, no 2 days are the same. So it just sounds, it sounds one hell of a. There's a lot of tales. It sounds.
Yeah, again, an interesting book, isn't it? Sounds an interesting book. It's a book that's a little bit different because, again, football is a global game, and there are other leagues apart from the Premier League, and they get some great attendances out there as well in Thailand.
They are passionate. Yeah.
Good luck to Matt Riley with his book Thai Football Tales. Beautiful Madness. What else have we got?
Excellent. The Men Who Made Manchester United.
Subtitled
The Untold Story by Harry Robinson. So this basically tells the definitive history of Manchester United before Sir Matt Busby's post-war halcyon days, really. So it talks about the tales it says here, will make you squirm, laugh and cry. So from the transfer fee of 2 freezers of ice cream to the tragic death of a young footballer and his forgotten family. So this is a right varied mix of stories in there. But it's a story behind the club's name and colours and the building of Old Trafford, the founding of the PFA and the creation of the academy. So it sounds a fascinating read. So I know Harry Robinson did quite a bit of his material. He writes a lot for the likes of 442, the Blizzard, the Independents. He's done a number of Manchester United related podcasts as well. So that's coming out in September. Another one after his pitch again. A couple others from September that's coming out. There's one called We Play On by Andy Brazel. He's a writer and broadcaster that specialises in European football. Yeah. You may recognise the name. He does a lot of on Talk Sport.
Yeah, he does.
As well as BT. But it's about the subtitle is Shakhtar Donetsk's Fight for Ukraine, Football and Freedom. So it talks about in 2014 when the conflict in the Donbas region of Ukraine began and affected Shakhtar Donetsk. It went into exile. It basically tells the story, inevitably the story of the conflict and obviously the Russian invasion since. And it's basically, it says it's a testament to the power of football, and the will of the players that, it's ultimately a football story, but explores some of that experience and the meaning of what it was, or what it is to be a Shakhtar player through the lens of a country which is a very aggressive neighbour.
De Zerbi was former manager, wasn't he? Manager of Brighton and Hove Albion. You don't need them called Brighton and Hove Albion these days. It's just Brighton, isn't it?
That's it. Excellent. Which segues really well, because I've got the next book I was going to mention is at Brighton. So this is the Seagulls' best ever season. Subtitled Volume 2. This is out through Morgan Lawrence Publishing Services. Quite a small publisher, but they've sent me a book. It's written by a guy called Tony Noble, and it's about I'm amazed how they write these books so quickly, but it's 2022-23 season, so they've just gone. So that's literally just come out as well. So De Zerbi, isn't it? Did I pronounce that right? He's the manager? De Zerbi, yeah. So, written by Tony Noble, a lifelong Brighton fan, season ticket holder. It's basically a match-by-match account of that season. So a must-read for Seagulls, and they're a model of. I think of my club, Forest. I think everyone looks at Brighton and thinks, "Well, can we try and do what they've done?" From a club that's just grown and grown, hasn't it?
Yeah,
really,
they've done a fantastic job.
Yeah, wonderful.
Tony Bloom is the guy that pulls the purse strings there, isn't he? And done a great job. As have Brentford. The recruitment of both of those clubs have been first class.
Yeah.
It's nice to see this. And they are, it's no disrespect, they're a smaller club, pitching it with the best and going toe to toe and knocking a few of the big boys over as well. So well done Brighton and well done Brentford as well. Long may it continue. What have we got next, my boy?
Next one, Phenomenon, going back to the South. Great. The incredible career of Brazil's Ronaldo. So, the Brazilian legend. The proper Ronaldo. Everyone says that, don't they?
Daniel Williamson. Well, I mean, he was... I think that Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo, is one of the great players of all time. I'm not saying that the new Ronaldo isn't as well, because he's done very well. Yeah. But I think that he was more natural, wasn't he, Ronaldo, the Brazilian one, and a shame that he had so many really, really bad injuries.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So that looks as though it's going to be a fantastic read, Phenomenon by Daniel Williamson, the story of Ronaldo.
Yeah, remarkable. Yeah, it was a bit like a ballerina sometimes, wasn't it, with his pose and his composure, wasn't
incredible.
it? Incredible.
I just think he's one of the greatest central strikers that the world has ever seen. I think, he was unbelievable, that Ronaldo. Again, for me, I'd much prefer the Brazilian Ronaldo to the Portuguese Ronaldo, but it's all opinions and so on. Yeah. And people will say, well, he scored more goals. And you go, he played more games. He's going to, isn't
he? Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. I look forward to that. Great author, Daniel Wilson. He's wrote for a number of books. He seems to be on writing a book a year at the moment. So he's done one on Blue and Gold Passion. That was Boca Juniors. And he wrote one on When Two Worlds Collide. That was a bit of the Intercontinental Cup, which we just mentioned. So, quite a prolific writer.
Got some nice titles, hasn't
he? He has, I loved it. Yeah, Phenomenon. Great title for the book as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bringing it up to speed, bringing it up to speed, so bringing it back to October, There's another one. This might be a snap. It's called Old. So I get this. I'm not sure it's pronounced. It's Old AULD. Old Foes.
Snap.
Yeah. So
Old Foes.
World football's oldest rivalry. So
James Stephen.
That's it. Yeah. So
when you looked, I asked Terry the same question. When you looked at the book title, Old Foes, written AULD as like old enemies, Old Foes, World Football's Oldest Rivalry by James Stephen. Where did you think he was going with the world's oldest rivalry?
I was thinking England, Scotland.
I did. I thought exactly the same.
Yeah.
And then I looked at it and I thought, okay. Yeah. But I did ask Terry Curran on the Curran View this week, and Terry said Arts and Ibs. And it's 150. It's 150 years, isn't it? Of Arts and Ibs. So, world football's oldest rivalry by James Stephen.
Yeah, their first match they played against each other, I did a bit of research, was on Christmas Day in 1875. So, it's incredible, isn't it? So, football's been going so long. But
England played Scotland in the first international in 1872. So,
incredible history, isn't it? Yeah. Over Scotland and England. So, Scotland, it is remembered. It's sometimes it's worth reminding. Scotland had such a big impact on the growth of football. So you think of the home of football, England and all that, but my word, Scotland certainly had its, very much involved as well. So, that's
Scotland has left its indelible mark on the game of association.
Yeah, that's great. Well said. Yeah. So it's a story of exhilarating highs, innovations, world firsts, and trailblazing in Europe. Plus the wretched lows of relegation, agonising near misses, and everything in between. So, but it shines a spotlight on a captivating football rivalry that's poorly understood. And I must say, when I shared that on Twitter, I sometimes look at the phone. I think, what on earth's going on? I can hear it going off. Goodness knows how many retweets and likes it got. So you always get the inkling. You think there's a book that's going to catch the attention of people, and that one did certainly. Get a great cover as well. It always helps. So great picture on there. So that's Old Foes. Another one coming out in October. There's a lot of books, like I say, coming out, so I could touch on a few more. Echoes of Italian Summer.
Snap.
Snap.
Here's another one, yeah.
Or a bit runny. And that's Italia 90, The Stories of Italia 90 by Paul Chriis.
Yeah.
So,
Grech, isn't it? Yeah.
That's it, yeah. So, but reveals some of the fascinating stories that underpinned Italia 90, which lives very much in the memory. So,
absolutely.
And fondly remembered for a number of reasons. I always think of the music, like it's got Pavarotti on the front.
Yeah, fantastic.
Isn't it?
I mean, he made opera cool, didn't he?
He did.
What I mean? Everyone, should we go to an opera? Well, no, because it's all in Italian and we don't know what's going on. But what's it? Nessun Dorma.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal. I mean, when Pavarotti sang that, you just think, oh my God, wow. And what a great tournament it was, Italia 90.
Yeah.
Great memories.
Great stories, weren't they? Yeah, great
fantastic.
stories. And that song, by the way, Nessun Dorma, I always think of if you remember the subtitles, if you ever want to, the moment where your hair's on the back of your neck, you go on YouTube and just type in BBC subtitles when they had that song when it come on. It was just like, wow, just had this, I don't know what it was. It was just great. Yeah, great connection of music and football and all that. It was some of the football was not the best World Cup in the world, but some great stuff. I think of Roger Miller when he's on the front cover as well. Cameroon dancing around the corner flag. So
absolutely.
Great.
I mean, he was about 62, wasn't he, when he done that?
Exactly. Good stuff. Another one. So 1953.
Snap.
This is
snap.
Great. So it's life in football 70 years ago. Marvin Close. He actually wrote one on life 100 years ago, 1923. But this one, he's brought it. So this is a unique snapshot of life and football around Queen Elizabeth's coronation year. So explore some of the matches and personalities. So and I did a bit of research again into this book, knowing we'd talk about it. 1953, it was the year when colour TV went on sale.
Yeah.
Would you believe? The population was 2.6 billion. You now think it's over 8 billion.
Yeah.
It's just how the world's changed massively since then. It was the year as well of the famous Matthews Cup final. Blackpool beating Bolton Wanderers at Wembley.
Yeah, it was the Matthews final when Stan Mortison scored a hat-trick and the only man to do it in an FA Cup final.
Yeah, could have been Stan.
Nothing like stealing your thunder, however.
Yeah.
He had a metal plate in his head as well, Stan Mortison.
Did he? Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But to score a hat-trick and not really be remembered as well as someone else for that final must stick in his throat a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and a couple of us, if we've got a bit of time.
Yeah, we have, because I've still got a few to snap.
Yeah, excellent. Well, there's one I've got, I don't know if it's on your list, and it's not just because it's Forest, but it's the authorised biography of Ian Storymore.
Hey?
Yeah.
What
Ian
was that?
Storymore. Ian Storymore.
What about him? Has he written a book?
It's the authorised biography of him.
Oh, blimey, I've not seen that come out. Where's that? You'll have to...
It's only just been announced. It's coming out in the 23rd of October, to be precise, out through pitch. So it's the title is Give It More, He Will Score. It's the authorised biography of Ian Storymore, the man Clough couldn't buy. And it's by two guys, Stuart Humphreys and Richard Harrison.
Oh, right.
But Forrest, legendary forward of the 60s and early 70s. So he scored more than, over 100 top-flight goals for Forrest.
I'm going to take a little bit of credit for that, because I did when I interviewed Ian. I says, you should write a biography. Yeah.
Oh,
and he was never that. He didn't. He was never really.
Yeah.
And he seemed really unsure, Storymore. But I said, you're an absolute legend. There's things that players that we've had that their stories and that's why I do the podcast, Legends of the 70s.
Yeah. There you go, then.
And it was a great podcast with Storymore. I mean, that wonderful goal that he scored against Arsenal at the City Ground.
Yeah.
And when, we're talking about, what did you say? The man that Cloughie couldn't buy?
Yeah, the subtitle says the man Clough couldn't buy. Well, it says there.
And he couldn't for what? Well, Storymore actually signed for Derby County.
Yeah. He's sensational on-off transfer to Derby County for a British record fee. It was front pages.
But it was never on. I mean, Brian said that, but it was never on. What happened is the story, but Cloughie come and told him that it's all signed and sealed. Just sign on, then you'll be a Derby County player, young man. Welcome to Derby County. But the Forest board wouldn't sanction it.
Right.
And Cloughie went back to him, and they says no, we're not selling him to Derby County. So it was the Nottingham Forest board that wouldn't sign the transfer off, but Storymore actually did put his signature to the transfer and believed that he'd signed for Derby County from Nottingham Forest, and he said from that day forward, Cloughie never spoke to him.
No, it says in here as well. Yeah. You'll have to share that podcast, by the way, Paul. But it sounds like he definitely took some inspiration from it. It says in the summary that it left Brian Clough unable to speak to him for 2 decades.
No, he didn't know.
And joined Manchester United and played alongside Bestlaw and Charlton. Yeah. But it's the first time, like it says here, that the author's decided to tell his story of his life and career, drawing on interviews and personal scrapbooks and his first-hand memories. So he's a hugely popular figure. Really popular figure. Really
looking forward to that because, out of all the players that have ever played for your team, Nottingham Forest, Storymore has got to be up there because he was telling me about, because I said, how did you get the name Storymore? And he was telling me about how it come about because he said, I was a little bit shy because it just sounded too posh, Story more.
Yeah,
so when he played for England, it was like Ian Moore, because he had a goal disallowed. He played against Holland in 1970, January 1970. Then he got a bad injury, but Alford told him that he was really in the reckoning for the 70 World Cup finals.
Oh, he was robbed of a place, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Mexico,
absolutely.
1970.
And that injury was very similar to the one that he'd sustained earlier. As I say, it was a fantastic part. It was about an hour and a half, and I thoroughly enjoyed listening to Story Moore, an absolute legend, and some great tales. So I definitely 100% will be buying that book. Really,
as well.
Yeah, Liam Brady and Story Moore. Any book from the 70s, it really gets my juices flowing.
I'll share that on Twitter in the coming days. But the front cover's great as well. It's Ian Storymore, just Ian Storymore. It's got the red forest top on, the old badge, and it's just him looking straight on, just him. You know, just ahead, a bit like a photo, like your passport photo.
Is it in the white?
Kind of photo.
Is it in the white forest kit?
No, red. It's in the red.
I was going the red forest kit. Yeah.
Yeah, the white, but the forest, the old, the badge with the it's in the white.
It's the old one,
badge. Yeah, the old one. Yeah. Before it changed. So that's the book that comes out in October. So I think, like you said, it'll be popular amongst a lot of people, not just
Story More, my lord, Story More.
That's the
Story More, my lord, Story More. Yeah,
great,
absolute legend, brilliant,
excellent. And then linking it to another kind of story is it's called The Lion Who Never Roared. It's about Jack Leslie. He was a star robbed of England glory. So this is one that's coming out. Yeah, that's it. So
Plymouth Argyle. Yeah,
you got it. Yeah, he had an illustrious career with Plymouth. He scored 137 goals in 400 matches. It says here, but
there's a statue outside Owen Park now, and they're having.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. So it's the incredible story of Jack Leslie, the only black player in the Football League when he was selected for his country in 1925, only to be dropped due to the colour of his skin.
Absolutely,
which is just incredible now. But the forwards by Viv Anderson as well.
Oh, right, Spider.
MB. That's it, Spider. So, but it's about his illustrious career, and he became the league's first black captain before an eye injury forced him to retire. In the 60s, he joined West Ham United, and he shined the boots of World Cup winners like Bobby Moore. Nearly a century after his heyday, this has been written by a guy called Matt Tiller, and it's drawing on material from Leslie's family archive. And it's just, Jack's legacy is unfurled. It's as it says, it's a heartbreaking yet inspiring biography with contributions from Viv Anderson, and also Sir Trevor Brooking. So, it's some of these books get shared, in advance, so they can promote it. And there's even a couple of quotes here that says, a review, beautifully written and a fitting tribute for unfairly overlooked legend by someone called Josh Widdicombe. And then Viv Anderson.
Yeah, I know Josh, says, well, I don't know him, but he's on the last leg, isn't he? Or
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... But that's coming out October time as well, around about the same time as Ian Storybooks. Ian Storymore's book.
He was also in Football's Black Pioneers book as well.
He was.
That was a good book written a few years ago. Again, I've done a podcast with the fellas, the authors of that book. So, however you access your podcast, just go on there and have a look at it. SRBMedia is the put into a search engine, and all our podcasts will come up for you.
Excellent.
What else we got, mate?
Well, I've just got a couple more. I'll coming towards the end. There's one which brings it to modern days, but it's called the world's biggest cash machine by Chriis Blackhurst. This comes out in October. It's about Manchester United, the Glazers, and the struggle for football soul. So Chriis Blackhurst. He's a former editor of the Independent, and it's a tightly reported account of the Glazers, the owners of United still. And if you watched the game against Wolves, you would have seen them as they were walking out of the tunnel. They had the banners up, didn't they, just behind. But it talks about that relationship. So
if the Glazers owned Birmingham City, we would think that we've died and gone to heaven.
Yes,
I mean, they've still spent lashings of money. They're still one of the biggest spenders in world football. You know, I don't know. I just, with ownership and stuff like that, I'll just give it a wide berth. It doesn't do anything for me, to be fair. Yeah. But there you go. Good luck to them that write the book and that. But you know, not for me. Any political book, I give it a wide berth. I'm not interested. But Storymore, I shall 100% be buying that book. I'm really that's made my night. That has. Storymore's got a book out. Brilliant.
Yeah, all down to you, Paul, for that podcast. So I'll finish with two more, then. If that's good with you. So one that's coming out is called Pride Before the Fall. It's by Ryan Conway, and it's about how Derby County have gone from playoff final to near extinction. So, and I'm not just choosing this. I'm not gloating, Forest fan. You know, I'm not one of those kind of things. So, you know, I missed the robbery, and I missed it for a few years. I wouldn't say that to.
I've been two great clubs personally.
Yeah, exactly. But it's... Go on, sorry.
No, I just think Derby County, I just think they're a great club. But, you know, Brian Clough, you know, done wonders there. He took them from nothing to Football League champions. And in the 70s, Derby won the greatest. Then Cloughie left. Dave Mackay won the championship again in 75 with the fewest points. But, you know, when there was probably about 12 clubs that could have won the Football League championship in those days. But I've always liked Derby, and I've always liked Forest, and it's only because of one man, Brian Howard Clough. You know, I've always been a massive Cloughie fan. Absolutely.
Well, this book captures the recent times, so examine, because they were, as you know, a founding member of the English Football League, two-time First Division champions, but they nearly wiped off the face of the earth with that ownership and all the goings-on with Wayne Rooney when he turned up. Obviously, partnered, was it Philip Cocker, I think, was there as well? Barcelona captain. I think it was him, so I'm trying to remember. But yeah, that book covers that, really, they almost went to literally extinction, didn't they? So, and they're gradually building their way back up in League One. So that's one that's coming out in October. And the last one I'll touch on is the autobiography of John Rudge.
Yes, I saw that,
so with Simon Lowe, so it's the unfolding life story of the legendary Port Vale manager, John Rudge. So behind the scenes insight, the ups and downs. He had 6 decades in professional football, so there were plenty of stories in that book. He took him from the depths of Division 4 re-election to the Premier League and Europe. So it says in it. So and he managed him for 19 years. So. And against some of the players, Robbie Earle, Mark Bright, Ian Taylor, and then he moved to. He didn't say it. He went to Stoke, didn't he? If I remember right.
I can't remember, if I'm honest, but I do remember Rudgy there at.
I'm not sure as a manager, but he went. Yeah, I think he went over in some capacity. If vaguely rings a bell. So, so that's coming out. And the one bit it does catch my eye. It says it's a hilarious memoir that also reveals why a second-hand larder changed John's life, and how he signed a drag artist, and they ended up in Dennis Law's bed.
So, see, stories like that really, I think I'm going to buy that book now.
It's like, what's that all about?
I mean, the rest of the book.
What's the drag artist?
Yeah, ended up in Dennis Law's bed.
Yeah.
But there you go. Yeah, but I've got a couple of books here. Nowhere to Run.
Great.
Nowhere to Run.
Yes, yep.
By
Jonathan Sayer.
Jonathan Sayer, yeah. What do you know about that book? Have you in your library?
Yeah, so it's one that, again, it's only just recently, literally come out at the start of this week. So he's an award-winning comedian, Jonathan Sayer. I know he follows me as well. I've seen that. He's got a big following on Twitter, and it's had some great reviews, Nowhere to Run. There's only so many books you mentioned, so I'm sorry I missed that one. But yeah, he read... It's basically about, he was involved in some way on Ashton United FC. Okay. I think is it Greater Manchester way, Ashton?
Yeah.
That way. So, But yeah, and how he was involved in the club one way or another. It sounds quite an interesting sale, because it says the subtitle is "Ridiculous Life of a Semi-Professional Football Club Chairman." So sounds an interesting story, to say the least.
Yeah.
But I love one of the reviews. Michael Calvin, one of the great football writers, his quotes, he puts, "Eat your heart out, Sheikh Mansour." So he's obviously there's something about his book. And actually, it's even got a quote from the great Peter Kay.
Okay.
It says, it's a funny, heartwarming story, packed with memorable characters that will want you to cheer him on all the way. Habit. So, yeah. So, good luck to him.
Peter Kay don't like football, does he? He knows nothing.
I don't think he does.
No, knows absolutely nothing. No. In fact, Paddy McGuinness was on TalkSport the other day, and Andy Goldstein was like, "Get him on the. If you phone him up now, do you think he'd talk to us?" He said, "No, we don't like football." and he said he was talking. This is like Paddy McGuinness. He was sitting there talking to Teddy Sheringham. He said, and Pete come in. He said, "Who's he?" Teddy Sheringham. Who's he? He's a footballer, Pete. Yeah, don't like football at all. So yeah, and the last one, I suppose it nicely ties in the Peter Kay situation. I mean, it's a book written by Paul Kay. I don't think it's any relation, but it's Cotton Cricket and Football by Billy Cook by Paul Kay. So, I mean, when you look at Cotton Cricket and Football, and it can only mean Lancashire, surely.
Yeah. No, I'm familiar with that book. I think is it come out already?
I'm not sure, but I looked at it and I just thought that looks like an interesting book. You know, because the cotton mills at Lancashire and the cricket and then with the football. So, you know, I'm not too sure who Billy Cook is, but I'm sure if you buy the book, you'll find out. It's
a colourful story of one of Lancashire's greatest sportsmen of the pre-war era. And it's interesting. So Paul Kay, as you say, he's the author. And he's done it. It's obviously linked because it says it's told from the perspective of his daughter. The daughter of Billy Cook, a mill worker in Burnley. So he played cricket in the golden era of gentlemen and players. But it says he was no gentleman. And he played to win and he played for the money. The money generated from the cotton mills of Lancashire. Yeah. So he played with and against some of the legends, including Sid Barnes, Archie McLaren, Larry Constantine. Not names I'm familiar with. No. But then he went on to be a hard-tackling fullback for Oldham Athletic. And he achieved some national notoriety, apparently, with his win-at-all-costs approach to football. But all of it was interrupted by his service on the Western Front. And he narrowly avoided death, and he returned and set records which even stand to this day. So that's a really fascinating book. So good pick. Yeah, them kind of books that stand out to me, that have got historical content. I like that. Books certainly from the 70s. You know, I always look at great, because they were my heroes growing up. So always a pleasure, sir. Likewise, I think we've probably done about 2 hours. so again, 90 minutes plus extra time. You were about right with the time added on now these days in football. We go. Probably is about 2 hours. So can I thank you for your time, sir? Thank you all for listening, guys. And we will reconvene probably in 4 to 6 weeks' time. Not 46 as it probably was last time, but about 4 or 6. So we'll try and get it a little bit more regular now as the summer's passed and the holiday season's finished and the nights start to draw in, and there's going to be lots and lots of books, new publications coming out, because as you alluded to, October is the time that they're building up to Christmas, and then you've got October, November, and then the December month as well, and I guess then it dies off a little bit in the new year. But next few months we will be chatting and talking football about some of the wonderful titles and also titles that you're promoting on myfootballbooks.com. Thank you so much, Andy. Excellent, and happy reading, everyone. Absolutely, I was just waiting for you to finish with that. Excellent. Cheers, pal. All the best, everyone. Till next time. Thank you. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.